Hello fellow stars, this is Astrophel and welcome back to my channel. Today's podfic is a one-shot called Ease My Pain, Ease My Worries by the author Amaris_Moon. Before we get into the summary, I do want to give a small content warning. The main character in this fic is transgender. He is female to male, and I understand that some people are not okay with that, and honestly, this is me saying right now, if you're not okay with that, you should probably leave, because I am as well female to male transgender. So, needless to say, this fic is near and dear to my heart, as far as a one-shot could be. I guess there should be another content warning for talking about periods. I don't know. It grosses some people out. For me, it's whatever, but anyways, the summary is as follows. Everyone has secrets, some more than others. Midoriya Izuku is no exception to this. But when he moves into the dorms and finds himself vastly unprepared for one of the worst periods of his life, who can he turn to in his time of need? His tired, hard-ass teacher who cares more than he lets on, apparently. And maybe he gains a father out of the experience, even if it isn't technically real. Or, Izuku is trans, but only Bakugo knows about it. When he wakes up to a bad period and finds he has none of his typical period products in stock, he has to ask his teacher for help. Alright, this is a pretty short one-shot, so let's just get started, shall we? Izuku groans when his alarm goes off, slapping at it half-heartedly until the chime ends. He could hear some of his classmates chatting animatedly or moving about their rooms. They've been in the dorms for just under a full month. It hasn't been as stressful as he thought. At first he had been worried about living with his classmates. They're lovely people, but they're nosy. And being around them 24/7 leaves room for a lot of error on Izuku's end. Thankfully, the weather is getting cooler, so it's not so hard to wear baggy hoodies all the time. You know, when Kachan harasses him into removing his binder and letting his tits breathe. But some of his friends are a little clingy. Uraraka is a hugger. Sue likes to cuddle when she's cold. Mina's far too touchy sometimes. Kirishima and Kaminari like to sling their arms over his shoulders. He doesn't really mind. He never had friends before UA, so having them now is a blessing. But when he's not binding and his insecurities are on display for the world, he just wants to be left alone to stew. He sighs, pushing those thoughts away for now. He needs to get up and get ready for school, but his back aches and he feels nausea settled nicely in his throat. The stabbing in his abdomen is all too telling. When he sits up, feeling all kinds of wrong in the process, and finds a deep red stain on his white sheets, he curses. He should have paid attention to what day it is. He trudges into the bathroom, stripping away his ruined shorts, and tosses them in the sink to clean in a few minutes. He opens the cabinet under his sink and digs around in his toiletries. No pads. No tampons. Not even a freaking Q-tip. How had he spent the last month so completely unprepared? The entire time he was unpacking, he never even thought about the fact he would need feminine products eventually. He sits on his toilet and rubs his temple. Fuck his body. Fuck his life. Just fuck. He goes into his room and grabs his phone off the table. He's gonna be so late, but it's not like he can go to school with an unsolved murder in his boxers. Better late than bleeding. Hey, Kachan, could you help me? With? I started my period. How is that my problem, idiot? I don't have anything. Please, Kat, it's bad. I don't want details, nerd. I'm already in class. I can't just fucking leave. Ask Ponytail or Round Cheeks or something. I can't. You're the only one that knows. He watches the little text bubble pop up, then disappear. He watches it do that for a few minutes, biting his nails nervously. He really hopes that Katsuki will help him, even if he just gets a cheap pad from the infirmary and brings it to the dorms real quick. It'll get Izuku through the day before he can go to the store. The next response comes through as a particularly painful cramp leaves him hunched over and gagging. What about Sensei? Izuku would rather die, though he feels like he already is. Here he is, hunched in pain and ruining his favorite boxers more and more by the second, and Katsuki wants him to come out to their teacher by asking for a pad? You know, their hard-ass, no-nonsense, only death can excuse you homeroom teacher. How is Izuku supposed to explain to him that he needs pads and tampons because his flow is just that heavy? Or that he'll probably end up sick to his stomach by the end of the day, maybe even curled up on the floor in a ball around his hot water bottle? The simple answer is he's not. Because when Izuku applied for UA, he never listed his birth gender. He never wrote his dead name. He never disclosed that he takes testosterone injections. So Aizawa doesn't know. And neither does anyone else. He's even managed to avoid Recovery Girl finding out, despite how often he ends up in the infirmary. But then he thinks about it. Aizawa has always had their best interest at heart. He's risked his life for them multiple times. He gets mad when they get injured, but is always gentle when he escorts them to Recovery Girl. He listens when they talk, no matter what the topic is. He's gentle and attentive and kind. The others have taken to calling him Dadzawa behind his back, and Izuku can see why. Maybe it's because his father had never been present in his life, but he sees Aizawa as a father figure in a much more personal way. He trusts him. And besides, his only other option is claiming illness and not going to school. Aizawa will end up checking on him at some point anyway, and finding your student curled around a heating pad covered in fluffy blankets with a large hoodie on and looking miserable probably wouldn't be any fun. I guess. Thanks. Izuku sighs as he switches over to his texts with his teacher. The only texts between them are Izuku asking Aizawa if he could go home for a homework assignment that he accidentally left, and Aizawa sending him a thumbs up in return. He should have grabbed pads that day. Hey, Aizawa-sensei. I know class is about to start, but I really need some help. It takes a few minutes for him to receive a reply, long enough for Izuku to move back to the bathroom as his nausea worsens and he curls up on the cool tile of the floor. He really doesn't feel good. What's wrong, problem child? Well, it's a little embarrassing, but I need pads. And tampons if possible. And maybe also some ibuprofen. I also don't think I'm going to make it to class today. I'm in a lot of pain and I feel like I'm going to be sick. Izuku waits, whimpering softly as his stomach stabs and his back aches. At this point, he's in so much pain that the mortification of his current situation doesn't even faze him anymore. He just wants some relief. Is there anything else you want? I don't think I need anything more than that, sir. Maybe just some water? I didn't ask what you need, kid. I asked what you want. I've run these errands for midnight enough times to know that you might want snacks or something of the like. Is he really asking if Izuku is having cravings? Is he really willing to buy something for him if he is? Maybe just some Takis? The blue ones? If that's okay. I wouldn't have asked if it wasn't. Just sit tight. I'll be there soon. And so Izuku sits tight. He curls up more on the floor by his toilet. He knows he looks pathetic, and probably gross too, considering his soiled boxers are very visible, but right now he doesn't care. He's never been in this kind of pain before. His periods are always intense, but usually he can get through it with minor difficulties. But this time, the stabbing in his stomach is almost constant at this point. His muscles ache, his back worst of all. He vaguely notes that he's crying as his chest begins to hurt. Of course, that just reminds him of the two constant reminders of his womanhood. That's when he finally throws up. It happens so fast that he doesn't even have the chance to sit up. The toilet is right there, and yet here he is, lying beside a puzzle of his own vomit, tears streaking his cheeks like rivers, wishing he was dead. Why did he have to be so cursed? He hears his bedroom door open and bags rustling in the other room. There's a soft knock on the door before it's nudged open. Something gets sat on the counter before a gentle hand runs through his hair. "Do you still feel nauseous?" Aizawa asks so softly he almost doesn't hear it. Izuku shakes his head miserably. He just feels tired. He wants to curl up under his blankets and try to forget this even happening. "All right, if you're comfortable with it, why don't you take a shower while I clean this mess up?" Izuku sniffles and nods. Aizawa helps him sit up before leaving the room, giving Izuku the privacy to start his shower while he goes to retrieve cleaning supplies. Maybe Izuku shouldn't be as comfortable with showering in the same room as his adult male teacher as he is, but he changes in the same locker room as a bunch of teenage boys, because he is one. He uses the men's bathroom, because he is one. He sleeps on the boys' side of the dorms, because he is one. So when he hears Aizawa re-enter the bathroom and start silently cleaning up vomit and smeared blood without a word of complaint or disgust, Izuku just continues his shower and doesn't bat an eye. He trusts his teacher not to take advantage of him in any way. After his shower, he slips a tampon in and pulls on a fresh, clean pair of boxers. He adds a pad, because it's necessary, and then pulls on some comfortable gym shorts. He tugs on his comfort hoodie, a big, baggy, red hoodie with a little cat drawing on the front. It dwarfs him, the sleeves covering his hands and the hem coming down to just above his knees. It's his go-to hoodie when he can't bind. He heads back out of his room, finding Aizawa sitting at his desk chair patiently. Even his sheets have been changed, and he finds his hot water bottle already heated and sitting nicely on the bedside table next to a cold bottle of water and the bag of Takis. It takes every ounce of self-control he has not to burst into tears right then and there. He takes some ibuprofen and presses the hot water bottle to his stomach. The relief is almost immediate. He sighs softly and melts back into his hoard of pillows and stuffed animals. "Feel better?" Izuku nods softly. "Thank you, and I'm sorry for making you get on this embarrassing stuff and clean up my mess in the bathroom," he says softly, staring down at his lap. "You didn't make me do anything. You needed help, and you weren't feeling well. It's my job to be there for you during times like these." "It's not, though," Izuku says, looking up. Aizawa raises an eyebrow. "You get paid to teach us, not clean vomit and get pads." "I get paid to take care of you while you're under my care, but my occupation is not what I meant." "Oh, that, oddly, makes sense. Aizawa doesn't view this as a part of his job as a teacher. He sees it as his job as a caretaker, as someone who's there to offer guidance and safety when their parents can't. Because he cares." And suddenly Izuku feels guilty about his initial hesitance. "You could have told me, You should have told me. As your teacher, I can't protect you if I don't know these things," Aizawa says gently. "I know, but I guess I was just scared. My old school didn't react well when I started transitioning. I know UA is different, but the hurt is still there." "I get that, and you certainly don't have to tell anyone you aren't comfortable telling. But just know I would never judge you, kid. You're safe with me," Aizawa reassures. Izuku nods softly. "I'm sorry I lied." "How did you lie?" "Well, everyone thinks I'm a boy when I'm not, and I didn't tell you, so I lied," Izuku says. "You should have told me that you were trans, but telling me that you're boy isn't a lie," Aizawa said firmly. Izuku blinks at him. He identifies as a boy, obviously, but that's not how he was born, and until his transition is complete, he's still a girl. That's just a simple fact. But no buts, kid. You're just as much of a boy as any of your male classmates. Just because you don't have the parts yet doesn't mean it's not true. Izuku bites his lip to stop the flow of tears. You really mean that? I do, Izuku. And somehow it's like hearing his name for the first time all over again. You're valid. You can be whatever you need to be. If that's a boy, then you're a boy. You're you. That's all it is. That's all that matters. Izuku bites down harder and squeezes his eyes shut. He whines softly as the tears flow anyway. He's heard it all before. From his mother when he was 12 and scared and needed her to know because her sweet little Itsuki wasn't Itsuki anymore. From Kachan when Izuku wanted to know where to buy boys' clothes from because Katsuki has the best style. And when his best friend asked why, he just couldn't help but tell him. But somehow, it's different for Aizawa-sensei. Aizawa, who never offers kind words or gestures past his deadpan tone and tired stares. Aizawa, who's only soft when Koda asks cats on the streets to follow their teacher when he's having a bad day. Aizawa, who casually wears hot pink sweatpants and cat hoodies around the dorm because he couldn't be bothered to dress for anything more than comfort when he deserves to relax. Aizawa, who does the absolute most for his students, even if it means running to the store for feminine products and snacks or cleaning up his students sick from the floor. Izuku's father was never in his life. He walked out before Izuku was even old enough to remember him. He never got support from a father before. He never thought he needed it. Until now. Well, you have it. Aizawa whispers softly as he sits beside Izuku on the bed and pulls him into his arms. I do? He knows he sounds pathetic, hopeful, but he needs it. You do. You always will, kid. Izuku curls into his dad's teacher's arms. He clutches his shirt tightly as soft sobs rack his body. It hurts, but he doesn't care. Not when he's being held so gently in warm, safe arms that promise love and care. Thanks, Dad, he whispers softly. A gentle hand cards through his short curls, easily starting to lull him to sleep. He relaxes against Aizawa's warm side and shuts his eyes. Of course, kid. Get some sleep. Izuku nods, wanting to do nothing else. He's just starting to slip off into unconsciousness when the deep voice above him speaks slowly. Oh, problem child? If you ever tell anyone about this, I'll expel you. Izuku huffs softly. He can tell the threat is empty for once, but he can never reveal the best side of his dad like that. Yes, sir. Okay, that's the end of that one. Like I said, it's just a short one-shot. I really like it, though. Dad Zawa fics are some of my favorites, so you'll probably be hearing quite a few of those here on this channel. Not a big fan of Aizawa bashing, but, some of those might slip through, too. Editing Astrophel here. There's one part in the fic that I wanted to touch on as a trans person. It's inner monologue. Izuku is thinking about how until his transition is complete, and I say that in quotations, he's still a girl, and he calls that a fact. It is not a fact for every trans person. Every trans person is different. I myself agree that I don't consider myself fully male yet because I've just started my transition a couple years ago. There's a lot that I want to work on for myself before I will feel fully comfortable in my body. That is simple fact for me. Other trans people just can come to the realization that they are trans and accept that and just start living their lives as the gender that they want to be. And that's great for them. I'm totally jealous. But I just wanted to mention that, yes, this is how a trans person can think. Because I think along the same lines that he does. Or that he is written to think. You know what I mean. Anyways, I just wanted to touch on that before the comments are like, he's invalidating himself. Yeah, he kind of is. But we're allowed to have these feelings. You know, there are feelings. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that. Alright, so that's the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.